Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Evan Worley. Welcome, everybody, to another week of sports. Not only do we have baseball ramping up, they're about to enter the 33% mark, I would say, in the season. We're about a third of the way through. But not only that, we are entering the NBA playoffs. The NHL playoffs are still in full swing. What a time it is for sports. It's like it's October, but better, I would say. Because baseball isn't ending, it's just starting. And we have the playoffs for basketball and hockey instead of basketball and hockey just starting. How awesome is that? Like, I think this is an insanely good time for sports. I am loving every single day. Not only that, I hope you guys had a great weekend. What a weekend it was for sports. Like, we had the Grizzlies-Blazers play-in game, which went down to the wire, which was an incredibly exciting game. Shout out Melo for actually proving everybody wrong and hitting the clutch shot to ice the game late in the fourth. You got the hockey playoffs who were doing numbers this weekend. Like, the hockey playoffs are incredibly exciting, even though hockey is pretty much just utter chaos for about 3 hours. But hey, who doesn't love utter chaos for 3 hours? Not only that, but we had a wild weekend in sports. Or a wild weekend in baseball, I should say. So let's start breaking down some of the news of the weekend. So I think let's start off with the two funniest bits of news from the weekend. Everybody's favorite team, the Astros, are back in the news because Jose Altuve has been playing so poorly that he actually asked Coach Dusty Baker to get dropped in the lineup. How insane is that? Like, just think about how that would be looked at 3 years ago. Obviously, knowing what we know now, it would never have happened 3 years ago because, they were cheating the whole time. But if you would have thought at any point, you would have saw, even you look at 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whenever Jose Altuve came up, he was already one of the better hitters on the Houston Astros. Granted, the Astros were probably the worst team in baseball, so that's not really saying much, but still, he was a talented hitter. He was hovering around 300 the entire time, or well exceeding it. So it's crazy to think that he is out here asking his coach to get put down in the lineup. Like, it's insane. Just comparing him, Clint Frazier in 2020 has 5 extra base hits in 10 at-bats, and Jose Altuve has 5 extra base hits in 83. 83 at-bats. And he has 5 extra base hits. So he's been placed, obviously we know, he's, won 3 batting titles. He's top 200 hits, and he's been leading the AL 4 straight seasons in hits. And but now he is batting 181 this year. So after all those tremendous seasons, Jose Altuve has just been horrible. And I think the funniest part on top of it all is there's not even people heckling him. These are no fans. Like, imagine how badly he would play if people were completely just throwing nothing but insults at him everywhere he went for an entire year. Like, the worst thing that anyone's done in a baseball game this year was that Philly fan who, like, hunted down the buses and just, sweeping the middle of the street and telling them to get out. And that just happened, that happened yesterday. So, like, I can't even imagine how bad he would be playing. Dusty Baker dropped him down to 7th in the order, claiming other players were swinging the bat better. No kidding, man, with a 1.18 batting average. I mean, I'm not going to give myself any credit, but I mean, I could hover around there if you give me 100 ABs. And this was against the Mariners. Like, the Mariners aren't, like, they are. They are pretty terrible. They're second worst in the AL. But still, like, second worst in the AL. And you're batting your best player and arguably one of the best players of the past 5 seasons in the AL. You're batting him 7th because he just can't hit. How in his head is he? Like, this is the most insane thing that I would have never guessed this at all. Moving on from that, so we have the Orioles. The Orioles are still playing great baseball. They're 12-9. The RBI leader in the American League is Santander, and he's been absolutely killing it this year. Like I said, leader in the AL in RBIs. But I think the funniest thing out of all of it is Chris Davis. Everybody knows that he's pretty much done. The only reason he's in the major leagues right now is because they're giving him so much money, and there probably is since there is no minor league this year, you're just gonna put him in the lineup, I guess. But let's go over Chris Davis' stats. So he has 48 plate appearances, 6 hits, 3 doubles, 1 RBI, 3 walks, 13 Ks, a 1.33 batting average, a 1.88 on-base percentage, a 200 slugging, a 388 OPS, and a OPS plus of 7. 7 OPS. He has more total bases than his OPS plus. That is insane. And the reason that we are going over Chris Davis and his stats right now is because I was on Twitter this weekend and I recently saw a report that said Chris Davis has $42 million in deferred money for his contract. And so basically what it is we all know in 2016 he signed the 7-year deal, for 7 years, $161 million. Well, he's got $42 million of that being deferred from 2032 to 2037. Now let's look at it from this perspective. He is currently this year 34 years old. Let's see, when is his birthday? Did they show his birthday? Yeah, so March 17th. So he just turned, 34. And by the time that this kicks in, he will be 46. He will be 46 years old, and the Baltimore Orioles will owe him $42 million over the next 5 years. That Chris Davis is, his agent needs a statue or something for all, just all, out of all agents, because that is incredible. The fact that someone could drop so bad. Let's go over so he signed in 2016, so let's check out 2016 till now. Oh man, I just saw his WAR's negative .08. Good gracious. Okay, so 2016, oh my god. That is horrible. Okay, so 2016 was his last really good year. I use really good in quotation marks because he was only batting .221 and K to leading 219 times. But he had 38 homers and 84 RBIs and actually a steal, which is kind of crazy to think about. But 88 walks to 219 RBIs, 219 strikeouts, not good. So he went 38 homers, 26 homers, 16, 12, and now this year 0. with his RBIs decreasing mightily every year and his batting average going from 221, 215, 168, 179. Oh, man. He's had one OPS plus season of over 100, and that was the year that he signed his contract. Man, good luck to the Orioles. Major rip to the Orioles, but good luck. I hope the best for him. Another thing that we learned this weekend is that there is no lead safe when you're playing the Oakland A's. The Oakland A's have had so many comebacks this year when they're losing. It is unbelievable. They are the number one team in baseball. They have the best record in the league. They tend to wait until the 8th inning or later to hit grand slams. And I think they have they have to have the most grand slams. I think they've had like 5 this season, all coming in the 8th or later. Steven Piscotty had a grand slam to tie the game on Friday. They came back for wins against the San Francisco Giants on Friday and Saturday, and then they put up a whopping 15 runs when it looked like they couldn't keep the ball in the yard if they tried. That's kind of how it looked for them. So one thing that just watch all A's games. They got easy competition. They kind of sleepwalk through the first part of the game, but late in the game they will find a way to just let off the fireworks and just go crazy, and it's going to be one of the most fun experiences. Every time I get home from the gym, the A's are still on. I turn them on, and I fall asleep to watching the A's game, and I have not been disappointed, not one time. It is an incredible season for them. The Dodgers, I told you guys it was coming. Told you it was coming for the Dodgers. They were going to have some rookie come up, going to make some noise, going to do something, and then they'll take over first place, and they're not going to look back. I forget what the man's name is. I think it was Ruiz. But he came up, and he got his first homer of the year against the Angels this weekend. Let's see if I can get his name up here. Dodgers rookie Ruiz, I think. Keibert Ruiz. Oh, and he's a catcher, too. Oh. Man, why do the Dodgers have so many good hitting catchers? But yeah, baseball is easy, quote from the LA Times. Ruiz homers in his first MLB at-bat. So they waited 6 years after signing him to make his MLB debut. Good for him. They signed him at 16 years old, as most international prospects are. So the catcher, 22-year-old catcher. I guarantee you he's going to have he's just going to have clutch hits after clutch hits after clutch hits. That's always what the Dodgers do. I don't know how it happens. Will Smith was the same way. Matt Beattie was the same way. Puig was the same way. Cody Bellinger was the same way. Like Corey Seager. The list goes on and on. Anybody who's watched baseball for the past 10 years has known that the Dodgers just bring up some random rookie and they go crazy. That's why they've won the NL West 7 straight years, and they're going to take it for an 8th straight year. And that's pretty much something that you can just take to the bank. Is it okay to call the Yankees and Red Sox rivalry like dead for the time being? The Yankees have absolutely dominated the Red Sox over the past 2 seasons. They've won 9 of the last 10, and they've won 20 of the last 25 games over the Red Sox, and it does not look like it's going to stop anytime soon. They were playing without Judge, I think they were playing without Judge. I didn't see him in one of the games. I think he's still hurt. But they were definitely playing without Stanton, and they had another guy on the DL. Three really impactful bats on the New York Yankees weren't even playing, and they just completely smoked the Red Sox. Like, Boston, what are you doing? You can't, and there's rumors going around that JD Martinez is on the trade block. So you got rid of Mookie and you got rid of JD Martinez. You're Boston. Boston sports cannot be bad for too long. Granted, they're only going to be bad this year. Like last year, they were very good, but this year they're terrible. And if there's something we know about Boston sports, it's baseball and it is basketball. They love their Celtics. They love their Red Sox, up until recently, I would say the past 20 years, obviously, since the Pats have dominated the NFL, that they're going to be giant Pats fans. But before, it was legitimately just Yankees, or not Yankees, it was Red Sox and Boston Celtics. Neither of those teams have been bad for more than like a couple seasons before they just bounced right back and became one of the league's best again. So I don't see how they're going to trade JD Martinez unless they get in a giant haul. They're not going to give him up for the Mookie Betts thing where they gave him up for like a hot sandwich. So I don't know, man. JD Martinez on the trade block, maybe. We got to see what the Red Sox are going to do because the Red Sox are going to cook up something. Something's going to be out there. And then the last news that I will end on before we head to break really quick is I'm going to talk about the 4 straight dingers by the White Sox. So, side note, it is nice to see that the Cardinals are playing baseball again. Sad news about that was the White Sox hit 4 straight homers off of a rookie making his debut. That's a bummer. That's a huge bummer. So it was 4 straight homers by Yoan Moncada, Yasmani Grandal. Also, if you guys listened to the last episode that I posted, as soon as I make fun of Yasmani Grandal for batting horribly, he comes out and has a huge dinger and a part of a back-to-back-to-back-to-back, something that rarely happens in sports or in baseball. So it's like, that joke's on me on that one. So the last time that this happened for the Chicago White Sox was August 14th, 2008, so 12 years ago. It was against the Royals with Jim Thome, Paul Konerko, Alexi Ramirez, and Juan Uribe did all of that. So let's check out these. Let's check out the StatCast on these 4 dingers because they weren't cheap. They were not cheap homers. They were absolute tanks. So it starts off with Moncada. He had a 105 exit velocity and a 31-degree launch angle, and the expected batting average on a ball hit like that is .890, which was second worst, actually, out of the homers. So a 105 with a 31 launch angle was the second worst expecting batting average out of the 4. Grandal and Abreu actually had the highest, with Grandal was 108 off the bat with a 26-degree launch angle, expecting batting average of .990. Abreu had 112.2 miles per hour on a 22-degree launch angle and a .990 batting average, while Eloy Jimenez had 101.5, a 27-degree launch angle. His expected batting average on ball hit like that was .870. Goodness gracious. That poor pitcher, I hope he doesn't like just have his confidence just rocked, because I mean, when you are a rookie pitcher and you just get tanked like that, it's not a good look, and I could see how that would really like crush his spirits. Really hope that doesn't happen. It's good to see that the St. Louis Cardinals are back, though. I think that's a good sign. I know that the Cincinnati Reds, I think, are still waiting for their COVID test results to see what's going to happen with them. They have had a couple little mishaps here and there, but we'll keep an eye on that. So I will be going to break really quick, and I will be right back with our next segment. You guys don't go anywhere.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
All right, everybody, and we are back. Thank you for sticking around to this next segment. So we still have some more news that I'm going to get to, by the end of this little section. I just had to cut it off because the last one was getting a bit long. But one thing that I touched on at the end of the last segment that I wanted to really dive into was the Cincinnati Reds and the Pittsburgh Pirates. So as we all know, Saturday and Sunday they were planned to play, but a Reds player tested positive and they sat out. They set out Saturday, Sunday, and then they just called off the game today as well. They decided to postpone the games, and it's just so more testing can be done, obviously allowing, the Reds to be able to resume play as quickly as possible and obviously not spread it to the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's not clear, hasn't been made clear when the Cincinnati Reds are going to be able to go to the field and start playing again. They have yet to cancel the game or not cancel, but postpone, because they're probably knowing how they're handling the St. Louis Cardinals. They're just going to do a bunch of doubleheaders, but it looks like their game is still on for what would be today if you're listening to it on Tuesday in Kansas City. The incubation period for the MLB has been a little weird lately. Or not a little weird lately. It's always been pretty weird. But let's see. So it's been 2 to 14 days, which is like, so it's like 2 to 14 days is kind of weird. I don't know how they've really mentioned how it's working, or like who gets 2 days and who gets 14 days. So, I mean, it's not really like, I don't know how they choose how that's going to work. It could have been, they're saying that individuals could have been infected without necessarily testing positive, which also doesn't make sense. I think it's, how do you even know if if they've been infected and they don't test positive? That makes zero sense to me at all whatsoever. The Reds, they've been home all week. They're hosting the Kansas City Royals Tuesday through Thursday. And, today was supposed to be the day off for them. And so it is actually the day off for them because they canceled the 2 other games, so they're not going to be playing today. So let's hope that they've actually, stopped the spread before it actually happens. Because the way that, the Miami Marlins were and the St. Louis Cardinals were an absolute mess. I don't know how the Cardinals sat out more games than Miami when Miami had almost 20 to 25 players and staff, I should say, that were, under the microscope for, the COVID-19 testing, which was terrible, but they seem to have bounced back a lot earlier. Let's see, let's keep this going. Like we just saw, the Cardinals, they just resumed their season, and they're going to have to play, they're trying to make up 55 games in 51 days. That's ridiculous. I don't think that's ever going to happen. Like the way that Manfred said that some teams are going to be playing less games than others, and it's just going to have to go by win percentage. I think that's definitely going to be the case with the St. Louis Cardinals. I do not think that they're going to be able to fit in 55 games in 51 days. I think most of the team would get hurt, and it would just be a huge cluster, and they would probably end up as one of the worst teams in baseball. I would think so, at least with all those games, even with the reduced doubleheader schedules. But they're saying, I'm reading this article right now on USA Today by Mark Sheldon, and it's talking about Nick Senzel getting pulled aside by the coach to join before he could join the team in celebration. So maybe it's Nick Senzel who they may have brought him back a little early, and he may have, maybe they're looking at him as like it's a spread factor, I guess. The David Bell, the manager of the Cincinnati Reds, said that it's just something personal and internal with Nick and our team that we'll have more information on coming up. The way that makes it sound like they're thinking that they brought Senzel back a little early. They had him tested positive, or he self-reported his symptoms. Same with Mike Moustakis, and the same with Joey Votto. Maybe they could have brought Joey Votto back, because I know Votto, he returned like 20. He had 2 tests 24 hours apart, both returned negative, so he bounced back. But it doesn't really, like, if you could be infected without testing positive, then maybe they brought Joey Votto back, and that could have been it. That could have been one of the reasons why the games got canceled, and Cincinnati is, taking a few days off for the whole COVID thing. But while that happened, we had another bout of Bauer versus Borus. I don't know if you guys paid attention to this over the weekend, but Trevor Bauer made news because he once again went at Scott Borus and accusing the agent of trying to shut down his vlog series. So, as we all know, everybody under the age of, I would say, 35 probably is on YouTube a lot. We kind of grew up in like this YouTube era, and the big thing that's going around that's creating all this buzz and noteworthiness amongst like these famous YouTube personalities are vlogs. And people just vlog their personal lives and do like all this weird stuff and go traveling, shopping, all that kind of stuff, and they vlog everything. And it kind of took a while to get into the sports world, but Trevor Bauer took the time and really set into the whole vlogging lifestyle, where he was, pitching ABs against Derek Dietrich and other, minor leaguers, and even had some ABs against Paige Halstead, who she connected on some big time lasers against Trevor Bauer, and he was not taking it lightly at all whatsoever. So that was pretty insane to watch. Shows that softball players are a lot better than anyone thinks. I'm a huge softball fan, but I know it gets a lot of hate from a lot of people, so it shows that they're a lot better than anybody can think on. But Trevor Bauer, he went on Twitter and, talked about Scott Borus, as he's done multiple times in the past, because Borus's agency had players accuse Bauer of sharing information about the COVID-19 test that postponed the games against the Reds and the Pirates. And so Bauer got mad and said he doesn't care about players and cares about himself and his ego, which could be true. I mean, Scott Borus is the super agent, the old guy. He has the reputation of, I'm going to hold out until we get the biggest contract at all whatsoever, and then we're going to sign. It was Bryce Harper waiting until, couple weeks into spring training a few years ago before he signed his massive contract. But it seemed like last year a lot of his clients pulled the trigger very early. It was really uncharacteristic of Scott Borus. But Trevor Bauer also tweeted, if you're going to be upset about all this stuff on Twitter, at least learn how to use the platform first and check the timestamps. Here, I'll do your job for you at Borus Corp. And then he tweeted a couple pictures where it's like, if you guys want to watch what it's like to be on the team that's staring at a potential COVID outbreak square in the face, he tagged his company, Watch Momentum's Got You. I'm vlogging the whole thing, so be sure to just subscribe to their YouTube channel so you won't miss any of the ellipses. Fun, panic, terror, I don't know. And then Ken Rosenthal, it looks like it is that, well, I don't think Trevor Bauer knows how to tell time, because the timestamp for Ken Rosenthal is 12:27 a.m. of the 15th, and Trevor Bauer's tweet was at 11:12 a.m. on the 15th. Maybe he messed up. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. I don't know. But it said a Reds player tested positive for the COVID-19. Sources tell The Athletic. The team defeated the Pirates Friday night, scheduled to host them a game at 6:10 Eastern Time. Status of the game yet unknown. He went on to go at Borus a little more, saying that, hey, Borus Corp, if you have a problem with me, call me directly. Stop sending players to do your bidding for you. And then another one, it says, Scott Borus wants to shut the vlog down, is not making a friend of the people or fans, is not a fan of players marketing themselves, is not a fan of marketing his players. PSA to all players reading this, he does not care about you. He cares about himself and his ego. Be smart. So it looks like Trevor Bauer and Scott Borus are not having are not having a good time. I don't know if Scott Borus is his actual agent, though. I'm sure it is, because, I doubt that he would be that angry about, just a random guy talking about his vlogging or whatever, but I can't see why it would be too angry about that. So maybe he's just trying to get out of his deal with Scott Borus as his agent. Who knows? I mean, the guy's worth, if Scott Borus has him locked up, and the guy's going to be worth on the free agent market about around $200 million. I don't disagree. Like, I don't blame Scott Borus for doing what he's doing. I mean, I'm sure Trevor Bauer can just fire him. I mean, people fire agents all the time and representatives. Like, it happens. I don't know. It's a weird situation. But let's move on to something a little bit better. So everybody who's listened to this knows that I have been a huge proponent of the Tigers. The Tigers, they had a rough weekend this weekend. They just broke 500 last weekend, and then they are dropping down. I think they're 9-10 on the year this year. But big news. I was talking about Casey Mize getting pulled up this year and getting some big league experience during this and kind of what seemed to be a waste year. And it's happening. The Tigers have called up Casey Mize, their number 1 pick in the draft. I think it was a couple years ago. The pitcher out of Auburn, and he is rated number 2 by MLB Pipeline. And they also called up Tariq Skubal, the number 5 pitcher in the MLB, or the number 5 pitcher in the MLB Pipeline. And they also called up third baseman Isaac Paredes, who was number 6th rated in the MLB Pipeline. So they brought up a lot of prospects to get some experience in before they go into a full season. Their manager Al Avila went on to say, "I'm excited and I'm nervous at the same time. I'll be on the edge of my seat. I'm sure as many of our fans will be. It's an exciting time for the organization to see 3 top prospects come up here and start competing. It'll be a good process, and we'll see a few guys coming along in the not too distant future." So it looks like they're planning on bringing up more of their top prospects to come in and get some playing time this season. Avila said about Paredes, 21 years old, will be in the starting lineup against the White Sox on Monday. So today Paredes will be in the lineup. Skubal, the left-hander who missed the summer camp with COVID, will get the start Tuesday, while Mize, the number 1 overall pick in the 18 draft, is scheduled to start on Wednesday. What a time to be alive for Tigers fans. I will definitely be watching all of those games because I've been waiting for Casey Mize to come up. I thought they probably should have brought him up last year. The ERA of the Detroit Tigers starting rotation is not good. It's been a total mess. They have a league worst 7.46 ERA, and somehow they've won 9 games. Don't tell me how. But when you get a number 1 overall pick headed directly to your starting rotation, and then you have the number 5 overall prospect right behind him in the starting rotation with a guy who's done it before, like Jordan Zimmerman. I know Zimmerman has not played particularly great up until this point, but he's had a very solid career, and he's been behind guys such as Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, like all these type of guys who have had really good careers. So he's probably going to be the one that's going to be teaching the rookies the ropes of the league. And they also have a starting third baseman. What a time to be alive for Tigers fans. Watch Detroit baseball. They're going to be the young, fun team to watch. The AL Central is full of young, energizing talent. Pay attention to the AL Central this week. It's going to be a great load of baseball coming your way, and I will be sure to highlight that in our final segment, which always is what series to watch for. So on that note, I will be taking a quick break, and I will be right back. Don't you go anywhere.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, everybody, and we are back. Thank you so much for sticking around this long. I really appreciate you. But, for the last big segment, before we get to the breakdown of the weekly series, I'm just going to go over just some injury updates of what happened, over the weekend. There were a few big names that happened to go down, and then we're going to go to check out how some of the rookies are doing with the rookie power rankings that just got put up on ESPN and MLB.com. So basically, just to stay up to date, Jacob deGrom of the Mets. We all know Jacob deGrom, but he was scratched from his start on Friday against the Phillies with some neck stiffness. He'll start his planning on starting against the Marlins in Miami, and I'm surprised he's actually pitching, to be completely honest, because the season is pretty much a wrap. I mean, I guess that he would basically just be doing it so he could get paid at this point, but I mean, he would get his prorated salary regardless if he was playing or not. And the Mets are 9-14. They're 4 games out of the NL East lead. They've already lost two of their best players with Marcus Stroman and Noah Syndergaard. I don't really know why he would even play. It doesn't look like the Mets are really going to be doing anything in the division. So, I mean, I would just come back, throw another game, and then pretty much I'd just opt out of the season if I were him. But he's out there playing and he's doing a great job this season. And you got to give him his props for endlessly fighting for the New York Mets, even though they haven't. They've been trying to hold on to whatever relevancy they've had since I think it was 2016 World Series, 2016 World Series, when they lost to the Kansas City Royals. But alongside him, another player from the Bronx went down this weekend, DJ LeMahieu. Aaron Boone said that DJ LeMahieu is going to be out for about 2 to 3 weeks. He was placed on the 10-day DL with a thumb strain. He suffered it just on a swing in the 4th inning against Nathan Eovaldi, which is not a good sign for the New York Yankees. But I mean, they brought up Miguel Andujar. Their defense is going to go down, but their offense will stay fairly even keel for the most part. I would say they would go down a little bit because DJ LeMahieu is a 400 hitter, and Miguel Andujar isn't anything like that. But I think Miguel Andujar, he'll add a little bit more power to the lineup, and they'll lose a little bit of the on base. But I mean, they're cruising right now, so I mean, it's not going to hurt the Yankees a little too much. Big news over the weekend for Padres fans, and it is not good news. So their newest outfielder, Tommy Pham, is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks after breaking the hamate bone in his left hand on Sunday. I don't even know what that is. I know you got the metacarpals. You have the carpals and you got the metacarpals. I don't even know what the hamate bone is. That is too in depth for me. I think it wouldn't be on the wrist because it would categorize it as wrist. Would it be like a knuckle or something? Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, he broke it while swinging at a pitch in the 9th inning against Arizona also, and he was removed. He had to be removed in the middle of his at bat. So not looking good for Padres fans. You know, the Padres, they look like they are, just kind of coasting. You know, they just fell below 500 for the first time this year. They're currently 4th in the NL West. Not looking very good for them at the moment. They need a little spark to get themselves back into the swing of things, especially with the Dodgers, kind of cruising, and the Colorado Rockies are just offensive juggernauts this year. Moving on to the youthful Toronto Blue Jays. Bo Bichette said he felt something in his right knee when he was stretching on Saturday against the who are they playing? Who are they playing on Saturday? They had a really good series though. I know Bo Bichette was just hitting tanks this weekend. So let's see, who did they play? Why are you doing this to me? Baseball reference. They were playing the Rays. Yeah, they beat the Rays 12-4, and then they lost on Saturday and Sunday by a combined 3 runs. So that's a huge bummer. Wow, it's a huge bummer for the Toronto Blue Jays. But they're not really expecting to do much this year, but they're a lot of fun to watch. Man, are they fun to watch. Charlie Montoyo said on Sunday that Bo Bichette was just doing regular stretching before, going to hit, and he felt it. He didn't really notify the Blue Jays until after the game, which was cut short due to rain. But, since it's just him, quote-unquote, feeling something, I think after 10 days on the disabled list, he'll be back up and he'll be ready to go immediately. The Braves have placed Ronald Acuna Jr. on the 10-day disabled list injury list, with left wrist inflammation. There was hope that he would be ready to play Monday after, resting the weekend, but, he wasn't able to do that. His wrist is still inflamed and kind of hurting him. He hurt his wrist on Tuesday, again in the series opener against the Yankees, and he doesn't know when it happened, and he just knows that his wrist has just started swelling up, and it's just kind of one of those freak things. But he's been out for a hot minute, and he's probably going to be out for, I would give it another 2 weeks, and then his wrist should be fine, and he'll be back in the lineup, doing what he does. Hopefully, this rest will let him, kind of ease into the season a little bit more, and come back playing a lot better than he was. He was not looking so hot. And then update on Albies, he just began swinging on Friday, and he's expected to miss another week, but he hasn't played since August 4th because of a wrist contusion as well. So it's not good for the young Bucks in Atlanta with the injuries. Going to the Houston Astros, so Yordan Alvarez was scratched on Sunday with knee discomfort as well. He's been bothered by sore knees on and off during spring training a few months ago, and it's pretty much been the same ever since then. So I expect him to play, let's say if we average 6 games a week for the Houston Astros, I would see him playing in 3 to 4 a week and having a couple off days here and then. He's a young guy, but he's a really big guy. So, they're going to have to do whatever it takes to maintain those knees and everything like that. Starlin Castro just got hurt. Steven Strasburg is on the 10-day disabled or injured list, and then they also put Starlin Castro on the 10-day injured list as well after he broke his right wrist while diving to make a play in the 6th inning. So 10-day disabled list, a lot longer than 10 days. For Starlin Castro, that is. It looks like Steven Strasburg should be fine. He's still feeling that numbness in his hand, which is kind of weird. But they're on the 10-day injured list, but it's going to be a lot longer than that. And then I'll wrap it up with Madison Bumgarner. So Madison Bumgarner threw a 38-pitch bullpen session on Thursday after he was placed on the 10-day injured list earlier in the week. He's obviously he has to be reevaluated and everything like that. but he's placed on the IL, and he's going to miss more than just a couple of starts. So not looking too great for those big names of the game. I'm glad that Bo Bichette, it was only something very small, like he, quote, felt something. It wasn't anything too big. Like, all of these injuries besides Tommy Pham aren't that crazy, and Starlin Castro also, because he broke his wrist, but everything else looks like it's going to be something that's going to take a little bit of time, but everybody's going to bounce right back. So let's go and talk about these rookies. So I have the rookie power rankings, and everybody, like, the game is in amazing hands. So, just going over some of the top guys and, how great they're doing. Starting off at number 10, I think the biggest name that I'm surprised is not higher is Dustin May of the Dodgers. He famously filled in for Clayton Kershaw on opening day this season and pitched an incredible game. He's had a ton of movement. The Dodgers have won 4 of his 5 starts, and he's shown that he is going to be a great piece for that Dodger rotation. The Dodgers are in great hands. He is my fellow redheaded brethren, but his stuff is insane. It is so nasty. He's got a 3 flat ERA in 24 innings pitched, a .269 batting average against, and a 125 WHIP. He's looking really nice. I like how they're giving him so much pressure this season because their schedule is easy, and when they were like, okay, Clayton Kershaw's out for the opening game, whenever he doesn't pitch, you are going to be the guy. They're just kind of throwing him to the wolves, and he is bouncing. He's just handling it incredibly well, and I enjoy watching that because, it's going to be those games where it's like, all right, we need you to come off of 3 days rest, 4 days rest, and we need you to be going, and he's going to be someone that Dave Roberts is going to be able to call on. So if I was a Dodger fan, I would be so psyched to see Dustin May handling everything so well, handling all this pressure, and, he's a huge part of the Dodgers being the number 1 team in the NL West. They just took over the Rockies because, the Rockies have been, offensive juggernauts this year. There's seems like every day they're hitting about 3 to 4 homers a game. So definitely something that we got to keep an eye on. Showing some love. You got Jordan Romano. He just gave up his first run on Saturday. He's sitting at number 9. You got Nick Solak, the outfielder / second baseman for the Texas Rangers. He had a 6-game hitting streak snapped on Sunday, slashing .299, .373, and .418 with 1 homer, 8 RBIs, and 3 steals. He's having a great season so far, so keep an eye on Nick Solak. You got Christian Javier of the Houston Astros. He just made his MLB debut in a relief appearance. He's handled everything. He's handled everything pretty well. He's got a 2.91 ERA and a 0.153 batting average against, while striking out almost 1 batter per inning. So the Astros have another great bullpen piece coming out, and they're saying he could really make it into the bullpen or make it into the starting rotation this year. He had on August 9th he had 6 one-hit innings. Nice. 6 one-hit innings on Saturday to make his second big league win. Heck yeah. So Christian Javier is looking pretty nice and looking like a real big piece in the Houston Astros organization. Moving on to number 6, you got James Karinach of the Cleveland Indians. Look at the Cleveland Indians just bringing somebody else up and just taking over right when Plesac and Clevenger go out. So he gave up his first run on August 12th, and he is racked up 22 Ks. 22 Ks and 11 1/3 innings with a 17-5 K per 9 rate. That is amazing. That's so awesome. And then he's got a lot of late inning high pressure moments. He's had outings coming in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning this season. So they have a really good bullpen piece in James Karinchak, so they have someone to rely on to hand the ball over in the late games, which everybody knows if you're trying to win a World Series is probably the most necessary thing to winning a World Series. Moving on, we got Matt Foster, the Chicago White Sox. He got called up at the end of July. So he's yet to allow a run over his 7 appearances with 10 2/3 of an inning. So Matt Foster is someone definitely to keep your eye on with the Chicago White Sox, but the whole White Sox team is someone to keep your eye on. What am I saying? I've been hyping up the Chicago White Sox all season, and it's not going to stop. Just watch the White Sox. They're young, they're talented, they're going to keep it going. Moving on, we got Jake Cronenworth of the Padres, shortstop and right-handed pitcher. Dang, so he's trying to pull the Shohei Ohtani route. He spent time at all 4 infield spots for the Padres this year. And he trails Lewis and Robert among rookies in total bases, and he has a slash line of 306, 358, and 592. Look at the Padres. Right when I say they need a spark, they got Jake Cronenworth cracking the top 5 in the rookie power rankings. Number 2 in the rookie power rankings, or number 3, sorry, you have Luis Robert, my guy, Luis Robert. He's kind of fell off a little bit. He's going through his little struggles. He's only slashing 264, 339, and 472 through August so far. But he did hit his 3rd homer of the year on Saturday, so maybe that could spark him right back up. He does strike out a lot, which is concerning, but he still is, he's still young. Everybody knows that, he's a rookie. I think he's like 22, 23. So, everything's going to come up to him pretty soon, and I think he's going to be able to round out and be about a 300 hitter in the next couple of years at least. Moving on to number 2, you have Randy Dobnak of the Twins. Now, this guy is absolutely eating the league up right now. So he's 3rd among American League pitchers with a 1.42 ERA, and he's kept hitters to a 1.78 batting average against. He's only has 14 Ks in 25 1/3 innings, but he has a .87 whip over his first 5 starts. So he's keeping people off of base. He's had low earned run average, and he has a incredibly low batting average against. Randy Dobnak looks like one incredible pitcher. And then lastly, number 1, you got the guy in Seattle, Kyle Lewis. Kyle Lewis is slashing 325, 400, and 482 with 4 homers and 15 RBIs. To me, he is the only reason to watch Seattle baseball right now, and he is making them very watchable. I've caught a couple of his games, and Kyle Lewis is the truth. His Ks aren't, it's not great for him because he does strike out a lot. But when you're putting together those kind of numbers with a team that's been struggling and there's really no protection, before him or behind him in the lineup, he's just kind of doing this all on his own. It is incredibly impressive, and definitely, if you have not watched Seattle baseball games, turn them on at least once just to watch Kyle Lewis. It's I'm not going to, sit here and compare him to Ken Griffey Jr., but the Mariners with Ken Griffey Jr. weren't really anything to watch besides Griffey, and that's exactly how they are now. There's really not much to watch besides Kyle Lewis, but just turn it on anyways because he's one of the more fun players to watch in the game. And with that being said, we're going to go to our final break, and then I'll be breaking down as we end every episode with the series to watch coming up this year. All right, do not go away. I will be right.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
All right, everybody, and we are back. So, you guys know how we end the show every single time. We have to highlight the week series to watch for. So basically, I got the schedule open right now. I'm just going to go game by game and just the reasons to watch. So we're starting off with the Rockies versus the Astros. So it looks like on Tuesday, if you're hearing this on Tuesday, you got Senzatella of the Rockies versus Zach Greinke. So you have the high-powered offense of the Colorado Rockies going into Houston to take on the Astros with their filthy pitching. That's going to be a series to watch because you have the Rockies are way better offensively than they are as pitching. Everybody really knows that, but the Astros have had a struggling lineup this season, so it's good to see. It's going to be good to see how the Rockies can handle them with the rotation and the back of the bullpen and stuff like that. When the Rockies are going to be able to pretty much put up a pretty good fight against the Houston Astros, even though the Astros have incredible pitching. So that's definitely something to keep an eye out for that. Going on, you have the Padres and the Rangers. Starting off on Tuesday, you got Chris Paddock, who's 2-2 with a 4.91 ERA versus Mike Minor, who's 0-3 with a 5.49. There's going to be balls leaving the yard in this game. Hopefully, Chris Paddock can bounce back. He is insanely good on the mound, but he's kind of having a rough year, especially based on the 4.91 ERA that he's got. But the balls are going to be leaving the yard. A lot of good young talent. Definitely something to be watching out for there. The Giants and the Angels are going to be playing. Reasons to watch this series. Well, Dylan Bundy is pitching, and he's got a 3-1 with a 1.57 ERA versus Trevor Cahill, who looks like he's making his first start of the season for the San Francisco Giants. I don't know why you would watch this series unless it's for just Mike Trout. I mean, the Angels lineup is really good, but they've underachieved a lot. So, I mean, it's going to be a back-and-forth series for sure because the Giants have a lot of offensive firepower. The Angels have a lot of offensive firepower, and both sides, their pitching rotations have been less than stellar so far this year, so that's definitely something to keep an eye on, especially for everybody who's just the East Coasters who want to put on a game when they're falling asleep, like me. Well, I'm in the Central, but still. And then, everybody on the West who's just looking for something to do late at night. The Angels and Giants is definitely going to be a game to watch. Moving on, we have the Oakland Athletics and the Arizona Diamondbacks. So the Oakland Athletics, like we said, best record in baseball, all that. You got Frankie Montas, 2-1 with a 1.57 ERA versus Luke Weaver, I think it is, who's 0-3 with an 11.85 ERA. Safe to say that tanks are going to be hit. Let's just leave it like that. Tanks are going to be hit this series. You probably have Robbie Ray. You probably have Robbie Ray throwing, and with Madison Bumgarner out, the Diamondbacks pitching has not been very great. So I expect the Athletics either sweep or take 2 out of the 3 and just bounce. Indians, Pirates. Nothing really much to see there. I think we could just skip right past that, move on, because the big series is right after it. Tuesday night, you have the Tampa Bay Rays versus the New York Yankees. You got Blake Snell versus Masahiro Tanaka. The Rays are 14-9. The Yankees are 15-6, so that's probably good for about a 2.5 game lead. The Rays can really close in on the Yanks right here through the series, so it's good to see that the Rays are back. They were on a little slow streak for a little bit, but it looks like, I think they were 8-8 at one point, in which case they would be, they would have won 6 out of their last 7. So both teams are coming in pretty hot. Let's see who can really take this series in the heavyweight slugfest that it's going to be. You got the Braves and the Nationals up this week. You got, Josh Tomlin versus, I don't even know this guy's first name, but Voth for the Washington Nationals. He's 0-2 with a 3.21 ERA. And you got Josh Tomlin, who is a reliever, going, I think the Braves, their pitching staff is so thin that they're going with the openers now, kind of like the Rays did. Josh Tomlin is 1-0 with a 1.59 ERA. the Braves have just been squeaking out victories as they can, with everything that's been going on with them, all the injuries that have just completely just dominated that team. It's good to they're always in for a fight. You're always watching a slugfest whenever you're watching the Atlanta Braves play, and I don't expect anything to be different, especially with Juan Soto coming off his week where he hit 5 jacks last week and he's one of the hottest players in baseball, and he could pretty much run a whole series just by himself. So that's the number one reason to keep an eye on the Braves and the Nationals, is just how can the Braves kind of claw their way into a victory this series when Juan Soto is just Thanos wrecking the world right now. Moving on from that, you got the Mets and the Marlins. Can the Marlins stay relevant? That's really the storyline from this one. The Mets are throwing out Peterson. He's the 3-1 with the 2.91 ERA. The Marlins have yet to announce who they're throwing. So, can they stay relevant? I think that's really the whole thing that we need to look for this series is who are they going to lose to the Mets? Because if they do, then it looks like both the teams are out. But if the if the Marlins are able to fight off the Mets, and stay first place in the NL East, it's going to be definitely going to be a major storyline moving forward. You got the Dodgers and the Mariners. Basically, it's just you would watch this for the young talent. Kyle Lewis has been insane this year. We just went over that. Mookie's one of the hottest players in baseball. I think he had like 6 homers last week. And you have all the talent that's on the Dodgers. You have all the Kyle Lewis, and you got a little bit more talent on the Seattle Mariners. Nothing too crazy, but moving forward with that, I would just watch it just to see some sort of action. If you really love baseball, you're definitely going to tune into that. You got the Red Sox and the Phillies. Bryce Harper has hit 5 home runs in his last 7 games. He is ridiculously hot. JT Realmuto is on fire as well. And the Red Sox just got off an embarrassing series against the Yankees. So let's see if they can bounce back with their 6-16 record. It doesn't really look like that's going to be the case. You got the Blue Jays versus the Orioles. Can the Orioles stay hot? Is one major question, and second major question is how are the Blue Jays going to react without Bo Bichette? That's really the reasons to watch that. It's just a lot of good young talent. Tanks are going to be hit left and right. It's just who's going to be able to, hold them off in the, with the back end of the rotation or the back end of the bullpen. Excuse me. We got the Reds and the Royals. That could be canceled. We are not sure of what's going to happen with them yet, but it doesn't look like the Royals have thrown out who they're going to be pitching on Tuesday night, but it's got Luis Castillo. So watch that game if it happens just because of Luis Castillo on the mound. Electrifying pitcher, electrifying stuff. I love his changeup. I try not to miss a game that he's throwing. I really hope they don't cancel it. Moving on, we have the Brewers versus the Twins. I've said this about a lot of series, but tanks will be hit this series. Kenta Maeda is going to start for the Twins. He's 3-0 with the 2.66 ERA. You got Burns for the Milwaukee Brewers going. He's got a 3.38 ERA. It's just going to be, can the Twins stay hot? And can the Brewers find their spark? Brewers are 10-10. Twins are 14-8. The Twins need to have a good series to hold off the Cleveland Indians. The Brewers need a good series to fight back into the NL Central race. It's going to be a great series. That's definitely something to watch. The Twins have been entertaining, endlessly entertaining the past 3 seasons. So I don't just watch all the Twins games. Just watch all the Twins games. Don't miss one because crazy stuff happens if you do miss it. My favorite series, the one that I'm going to be watching the most of this year, is going to be the Tigers and the White Sox. Like I said, they have their 2 rookies. They have Skubal and Mize going Tuesday and Wednesday. The White Sox is one of my favorite teams that I've been watching a lot this year. They've been insanely good. It's the free game of the day. So just be sure to tune into that because that's a lot of good young talent and 2 of the teams of the future going at it for bragging rights in the AL Central. And lastly, you have, can we say this is I would say arguably the second best rivalry. We can say the third best But you got the Cardinals versus the Cubs. You know, the Cardinals need a real bounce back. You know, they kind of got roughed up in Chicago with the White Sox last weekend. They kind of need to have a good series against the Cubs, who are rolling this year. The Cubs are rolling out Yu Darvish, who is 3-1 with a 1.88 ERA, and you got Ponce de Leon going for the St. Louis Cardinals, who was 0-1 with a 6.75 ERA. Let's see how the St. Louis Cardinals handle the Cubs. They always come out with a little extra oomph and a little extra juice for this series, so I can't wait to see how that goes. And with that being said, that, everybody, is our show. So if you would like to follow us on Instagram, follow me on Instagram at EvanWorley23, play me in Tap Baseball at EvanWorley23, and be sure to enjoy your week, enjoy your families, and especially this week, enjoy all the sports you got. I know right after this I'm going to be tuning into my Philadelphia 76ers taking on the Boston Celtics in Game 1. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching the GSMC, or listening to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask you to please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us. Also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you all, and have a good night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.